Ladies, we're ready.
Good morning.
Congratulations, when are you due? Good day. Hello, my name is Daniel Bennett. Welcome to another episode of Good Day. Hope you're enjoying your day so far. Before we start off, I want to encourage you to go to gooddayGTN.com for this free booklet, again, How to Become a Water Walker by Andrew Wommack, or if it's in the future, it'll be something else. So today what do I want to talk about? Being wrong. It's one of my favorite topics. I'll explain in a little bit what I mean by this, but first I want to do a quick little topical study, very surface level topical study on caution. So I want to do 3 quotes and 3 scriptures on caution. And I think next episode I'll do it on confidence. And so I wanted to kind of show both sides of the place for confidence, the place for caution. And so, first quote on caution says, "Be careful what you set your heart upon, for it will surely be yours," by James Baldwin. And this is similar to many other quotes and even scriptures talking about like what you focus on, you'll head in that direction. So be careful about what you pursue, because now usually it doesn't mean you'll get on the surface what you wanted. If you say, I want to be a movie star, I want to be a billionaire, for some people that will happen, for many people it won't. But underneath the surface is what you'll get. So if, what are you actually pursuing? Because that will determine who you become. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, Benjamin Franklin. Now I'm a big fan of prevention. I think it's so much easier to prevent things. Whenever there's a problem, even at work, I always try to say, okay, we need to solve the problem right now. But what I really care about is how do we prevent this from happening again in the future? So I try to pour more of my energy into future prevention. Where it's like, hey, right now we might have a messy or less than ideal solution. We just got to get something fixed immediately, as quickly and effectively as possible. But I love prevention. I love to look ahead and see things before they happen and prevent things before they happen. I hate to just always be reacting to emergencies. I'd much rather see an emergency in the future and then come up with a plan so it never happens. Even with miracles, some of the best miracles are ones you never know about, where it's because you didn't even see the crisis happen because God had already intervened in your life in some other way, right? Sometimes a miracle is just God says, go here instead of go there. And you have no clue what you avoided by following God's direction. So I think, prevention so much better. My favorite miracles are the ones I'll find out about in heaven, where it's like, oh, you mean by obeying you right there that I avoided this and this and this and that? Awesome. So thank you for taking care of that. Because many times when you obey God, you're like, nothing happened. What was the big deal? It's like, what didn't happen was the miracle. The third one, great things are not accomplished by idle dreams, but by years of patient study. And idle dreams it's the key word is idle dreams. Because dreams are crucial, as we talked about in the past, but years of patient study, planning, preparation. You can't just always jump straight into your destiny. There's seasons of preparation and wisdom. So that's James Garfield. So now some scriptures on caution. Matthew 10, verse 16, Jesus says, "Behold, I sent you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." Right? So here serpents is being used as a good analogy. We're saying be wise, be harmless, but be wise. He didn't say be harmless and be stupid and just trust that I'll take care of you. Say, no, you're sheep in the midst of wolves. You need wisdom. You need to be wise. You need to be prudent. You need to think things through, cause and effect. If I do this, what will happen? How can I be effective? Stuff like that. Some people think that they're being persecuted when actually they're just being dumb. Or they're just making trouble for no reason. They're causing enemies. They're being unlikable. And they're like, oh, I'm being persecuted. Maybe you're just being a jerk. Not all persecution is unjustified. And so, we need to be wise and harmless. Proverbs 22, verse 3 says, "A prudent man foresees evil and hides himself, but the simple pass on and are punished." Right? So part of prudence is foresight, looking ahead and saying, like, that's not going a good direction. Right? I don't want to sow that because I don't want to reap that. I don't want to go there because it might lead to a situation I don't want to be in. The time for self-control isn't when you're in the midst of temptation. Self-control is best when you don't even go into that situation. If you know that you mess up when you go into a certain environment, then just don't go, right? I remember I was talking with Mike once, and he was saying how somebody told him, every night when it gets really late, I make bad decisions. And he says, well, then go to bed earlier, right? Just avoid being in that situation. If you make bad decisions at midnight, go to bed at 10 o'clock. If you make bad decisions with one friend, don't hang out with them anymore. Go somewhere else. So a prudent man foresees evil and hides himself. So you say, yeah, I'm not going that way because I see what's ahead and I don't like it. James 1, verse 19 says, so then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. Right? So again, this is about caution, right? Is be quicker to listen and don't just react right away. Take time, process, listen. Are you actually listening? Are you actually paying attention? Are you seeing what's going on before you just make a quick decision and possibly make a big mess? And so, that's three quotes and 3 scriptures on caution. And next, we're going to talk about being wrong and why this is one of the most powerful things in life. But first, we have this quick little commercial for the booklet.
Life comes with all kinds of storms. But when your boat is sinking, you might want to step out and learn how to be a water walker. Log on to GoodDayGTN.com to get your free copy today.
Awesome. So as I said, I'm going to talk about being wrong right now. And I've done a teaching on this before on the 𝗪𝗪 Daily Live Bible Studies on YouTube called You Are Wrong. And it basically is like, if you can't handle that title, then you won't enjoy this message. But I want to talk about being wrong and why this is powerful and effective. And I've seen this be one of the most important things that has happened in my life. Some of the best things God's done in my life have started off with Him saying, you're wrong. And I want to explain why this is exciting and shouldn't be something that's offensive or makes us get defensive or anything like that. See, there's 2 types of learning, in a sense, in this context. See, sometimes you're learning something you didn't know, right? I didn't know that, now I know that. But the other type of learning is you thought you knew something and you found out you were wrong and now you know it for real, right? And so sometimes you just don't know, but there are things that you think you know that you're wrong about, and then you learn, oh, I was wrong and now I'm right. And so some people are terrified of being wrong and they get very angry about it. They attack people, I have to fight to the death that I'm right. And they won't listen to anybody else because they see it as their identity, right? What I believe is my identity. And if you say that I'm wrong, then you're attacking my identity, so I have to attack you. But the thing is, if you actually value the truth, if you're wrong, you want to find out that you're wrong, because I see being wrong as an opportunity to become right, right? See, if you only are willing to learn new things and you're never willing to update something that you're wrong about, then you're missing out on most forms of learning. Right? Or I'm just piling up new things and new things and new things and new things, but don't question any of them. Instead of saying no, actually that thing that I thought, I'm wrong about that. So it's a very powerful form of learning, and we're missing out on learning and growing if we never can accept that we're wrong about certain things. There's certain things that we thought were true and they're not true. So again, if you're wrong, it means that now you have an opportunity to become right. And so it's not just about winning. Is winning just proving to the other person that you can win an argument, or is it about becoming more right? And so if you value the truth and you value growth, then we should always value growing as opposed to just winning an argument. It's the thing, that's why I don't like debating. There's a place for it. I just personally don't like it. Because, when you learn how to debate, you even practice debating both sides of an argument. And if you're really good at debating, you can You can win an argument that you don't even agree with, right? You can win an argument even if you're wrong just because you're so good at arguing. But I like conversations because I don't want it to just be about victory. Like I won against you. I have better skills at arguing. To me, the goal should be finding the truth and finding better solutions, right? If I disagree with somebody, I'd much rather find a win-win, find some area where we do agree, or maybe I learn from them or they learn from me. I'd much rather have that kind of conversation with somebody than just say, I'm going to win. I don't care if you're right. You see this a lot in politics where it's like, can't we just have some conversations about solutions instead of just my side thinks this, your side thinks that. No need to do any study or research or think about it. So, yeah, some of the most powerful things in my life, God said, Daniel, you're wrong. And if I freaked out, I would miss out on the next part. Because he isn't just saying you're wrong trying to embarrass me. He's saying you're wrong. Let me show you the truth. So if I freaked out and I was like, how dare you say I'm wrong, Lord? I would miss out. But if I'm like, really, what am I wrong about? Like the moment I got a revelation of this, I was like, is there any other area where I'm wrong? Maybe there's things that I believe about you. Maybe there's things I believe about me that I'm wrong about. I want to know more. And so I realized this is a great opportunity for growth. I don't just have to find new things. Sometimes it's that I believed lies and didn't realize it. Think about the concept of deception, right? See, nobody, I guess maybe not nobody, but in general, no one says, I believe a lie. I am deceived, right? The whole point is that if you're deceived, you think you're right. You think you know the truth, but you're wrong. I mean, that's the whole point of it, right? No one says, I am intentionally wrong and I'm deceived. But people say, I'm right and you're wrong, but they're wrong, right? That's the whole point, is you're convinced that you're right, but you're wrong. And that's why it takes so much humility to realize, wait, maybe I'm wrong, right? It's easy to see when other people are wrong, but if we can turn that around and say, are there things I'm wrong about? And that's the whole point. Everyone thinks they're the hero of their story. Even people who are jerks, and their inner view of the world, they're like, I'm the main character and I'm the good one. I'm the hero and everyone else is my problem and it's their fault, not mine. So, I mean, it's amazing. So many people who argue, they both see themselves as the hero fighting the evil person and they both think they're the good guy. It's kind of like in sports where both teams pray to win. And then you're like, what? Like, I don't know, who's God favor more? And so it kind of gets silly when people are like, well, I'm right. Why? Because I'm me and everyone else is wrong. And if I make a mistake, it was an accident. If someone else makes a mistake, it's because they're evil and stupid, right? And people have this very self-centered way of looking at life by nature unless we break out of it. So, and one wisdom key for life is realizing if everyone else has a blind spot, then you probably do too, right? If you look around and you're like, everybody else is wrong about something, then maybe you're wrong about something too. I'm not saying you have to question things that you know for a fact that are true at your core. We need a strong foundation that's unshakable. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm saying there are things where we need to be willing to be wrong if we want to be set free. Much ministry, if you teach a child, it's so simple. If they know nothing, you can just teach them the truth and they just say, awesome. But for adults, it can be much harder because you're not just telling them the truth. You have to counter a lifetime of lies that they believe, a lifetime of things that they believe wrong. And so much teaching out there is actually countering bad teaching. If you don't have all this bad teaching, it can be incredibly simple actually to say, well, this and this and this. Okay, awesome, thank you. But if you have a lifetime of believing wrong things, it can kind of become part of your identity and you resist more even though someone's trying to help you. Yeah, humility is exciting because if we're humble and we accept maybe I'm wrong, maybe I can be more correct, it gives us whole new opportunities for growth. It can be very exciting. Proverbs 9 verse 8. This is a fantastic scripture. Proverbs 9:8 says, do not correct a scoffer lest he hate you. Rebuke a wise man and he will love you. See, wise people love correction. And I would say wise people love correction even if it's not done in a kind way, because they're so focused, like because you're wise, you're like, I want to be even more wise. I want to learn even more. So if you correct me, then thank you, because now I can grow. If there's something I did wrong, and even if somebody scolds me, even if they're inappropriate about it, even if it's out of place or it's wrong, what if they're 99% wrong? But if they're 1% right, then I want to take that 1% and grow. Because I don't care about, oh, it's me versus them. It's just, oh, if I can grow, then I'll grow. Now on their side, that's between them and God if they're handling it wrong. But again, if you have a wise heart, you'll appreciate correction. And even if the person is being mean about it, you might say, is there anything to this? Because if there is, I would love to grow. Maybe I could have done this better. Maybe, right? What if someone accuses you of something you didn't do? But maybe you could have helped prevent it or done something else. And you're like, okay, yeah, you're wrong about all that, but I could have done this better. And so I'm going to grow from that. But yeah, if you correct a scoffer, they'll hate you, right? Because they don't want to learn. They're just saying like, how dare you say that I'm wrong? My ego is more important than my growth. Proverbs 13, verse 1 says, a wise son heeds his father's instruction, but a scoffer does not listen to rebuke. But many times I've been corrected where they're partially wrong, or maybe they had a wrong attitude with it, or they did it in a mean-spirited way that wasn't edifying. They're just trying to tear me down or whatever else. And it's if you listen though, you can say, ooh, okay, there's actually some truth to that one. I'm going to grow. I'm going to grow from that one. And it's like, oh, that's their problem. How they treat me is not a reflection on me. How I treat them is a reflection of me. And so how they treat me is between them and God. How I treat them is between me and God. So listening to rebuke, right? Listening to instruction. And you'll find that if you're willing to listen to correction, usually correction doesn't have to escalate if people know that you're willing to listen. Let's see. There's a popular interview question. Like if you're applying for a job and get interviewed, many times people will ask, like, what's your greatest weakness? And I don't like that question because people are typically asking it to see if you're self-aware. Like, do you have so much ego you don't recognize you have weaknesses? You know, can you be genuine about this? Or what are your weaknesses? But I don't like it personally because if I was aware of a weakness, I would have done something about it. You know, basically what I want to say in that kind of interview, they say, what's your greatest weakness? I'll say, ask someone else. Because if I knew it, I wouldn't have it anymore. I would have dealt with it. I would have given it to God. I would have asked to grow in that area. I was like, my actual weaknesses are ones I don't know about, because why would I know I have a weakness and just, oh, I have this weird weakness. Oh, well, no, I'd do something about it. So again, that's not a good interview answer. If you say, I'm not aware of any, right? Because they'll be like, what? And you're like, no, I'm not saying I don't have any. I'm just saying I'm not aware of them. Anyway, that's a different topic. Maybe someday in the future I'll talk about interviewing. Don't just run with that by itself. There's a lot more context to give to be a good interviewee or interviewer. My main point, so far I've just kind of been doing the intro about this, about being wrong. But my main goal in this message right now is that the most important way that we can be wrong isn't necessarily information, right? If you think the sky is green and then I was wrong, the sky's blue. Okay, not that big a deal. If you thought, dinosaurs were purple and you find, they're green, or they had feathers, I don't know. And then, I found out what's accurate. Okay, I was wrong. Information's not the biggest way. It's not the most important way that we're wrong. The most valuable area to find out where we're wrong so we can make a course correction is our priorities. And this one's huge. And what I mean by this, there's things that you think are important that aren't. There's things that you think aren't important that are. There's things that you don't think are worth your time, and they are worth your time. There's things that you don't think are worth investing in, and they are worth investing in. There's things that you think are worth investing in that aren't worth investing in. Right? It's about priorities. There's things that you might think are a little bit important, but they're actually very important. There's things that you might think are very important, but they're actually only a little important. Our priorities are one of the biggest areas where we're wrong, because our priorities determine where we're going, what we're pursuing. Right? There's things, if you knew the future, there's so many things you'd tell yourself, right? If you could go back in time 20 years, or, unless you're less than 20 years old, if you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself? Right? There's things that if you knew were important, you would have pursued them, but you didn't know. And so that's one of the greatest opportunities to grow, is say, God, what should I focus on? What should my priorities be, and in what order? What should I value? What should I not value? Right? Let's say if you think that your friend's opinion of you is really important, and you realize, it actually isn't that important. God's opinion of me is more important. Things like that, where how we value things is incredibly powerful. And it's one of the main areas where we're wrong, where God's course correcting us. So you might say, Daniel, you say I'm wrong, but there's nothing I believe that's wrong. It's not necessarily the information. We might say the information I know is accurate. Okay, I'm sure that at some point we might discover some of it might be wrong. But it's not just information, it's, do I value things in the right order? Do I value my family as much as God values my family? Do I value time with God as much as God does? Do I value how much I invest in my health? Do I value how much I learn about financial literacy? Do I, all these different areas, these are some of the biggest ways that God's transformed my life in the last 10 years especially. Like when I was younger, it was much more about learning new things. As I get older, I don't learn new things as often. Many times, especially with ministry and teachings and all that, where it's very rare for me to hear something that I hadn't heard before. Again, it's still valuable because you're feeding yourself. But many times it's, I didn't realize how valuable and important this was. It's more about an adjustment, not of new knowledge, but it's a mindset and a shift of how we value things, how we prioritize things, how we make decisions, where if I knew more, I would value this more. And that's where there's certain things where I was like, I valued one thing a lot. Like say when I was a lot younger, I was like the highest form of Christianity is to be persecuted. So I highly valued putting myself in situations where it was dangerous or I could be in harm's way, stuff like that. I was like, you're wrong. It's not about just being persecuted. That's a side effect of loving other people. And you value the adventure, but you don't value other people, so you're wrong. Adjust that. Focus on people more, and you will have an adventure. If you love people so much that you're willing to lay down your life for them, you will have an adventure. But I was prioritizing it the wrong way, where I was like, adventure is my goal, and there's people too. God's like, no. True adventure is like this, where it's that you value people, and then you're willing to go have adventures for them. And so this is, and it's very, very powerful. I hope I'm communicating it in a way that makes sense, is that when God shows us that our priorities are wrong and we adjust, it will set you free to reach whole new levels where you say, man, I thought this was so important and it wasn't. Or this thing over here, I didn't care about that. And I realized I should care about that. It's not just what we think, it's about how we think. Right? So imagine you have a sports card and you know it's worth $100,000, but somebody else thinks that it's trash. I think it's just a dumb sports card. They're 10 cents. They're wrong, but they don't know it. So if you gave it to them, they might throw it away. So being wrong is incredibly important. If we don't value things the right way, we will throw away things that we'll treasure, and we'll treasure things that are trash, and we'll just be all out of whack. We'll completely miss out on the best things that God has for us. Right, so that's the key, is how does God value things? We want to see with God's eyes and see the value that he sees. Right, Romans 3 verse 4 says, certainly not, indeed let God be true, but every man a liar. And this is one of my favorite verses just because it clearly says what's already obvious. God is right, and if we disagree with God, we're wrong. So one of the keys to life, one of the keys to victory and success and true prosperity is to see with God's eyes, to see things the way that he sees them, to value them the way that he does, to see your schedule, to see your time the way God does, and investing your time the way that he thinks is valuable. I mean, I used to think that fun was worthless. I was like, you gotta have fun every now and then, but really we should just be focused on really deep, important, serious stuff. And so I was pursuing deep, important, serious stuff. And God's the one who told me, you're wrong. I'm the one who invented fun, and you'll miss out on the deep stuff if you don't know how to have fun with me, because that actually is deep. And so God's like, you're wrong about fun. I was trying to put fun on the altar and say, kill it, Lord. I'll never have, I love you so much, God, I'll never have fun again. And God's like, you've misunderstood me completely. I want to enjoy life with you. And so there's many different areas where God is wanting to tell us, like, you're wrong about this. You're not even studying this topic, right? Ignorance isn't an excuse. If you say, well, I didn't know. Yeah, but if you wanted to find out, you would have known. If you valued wisdom enough, you would have figured these things out. And so it's very, very important. Again, it's not that we want to be wrong. It's that if we're wrong, we want to find out. Right? So that's why I love being wrong. I don't like being wrong. It's that when I find out I'm wrong, I get to grow even more. And people who are never willing to be wrong, they just go in circles their whole life, and they hit a ceiling of their ego, and they can't grow past it. And so when you have humility, you can go much, much farther. So, and I hope that's helpful. Again, this really is about a desire and a passion to grow, to let God correct us, to let mentors or other people speak into our lives. If no matter where you are in life, I think it's important to always have somebody who you let speak into your life. I don't mean strangers should have authority just to come up and correct you and tell you things, but there should be people that you trust who you welcome and you invite them to speak into your life and maybe give some correction about different things, about your marriage or how you parent or your relationships or just all kinds of stuff. Is somebody who you allow to speak into your life, because if you don't, then you'll have these major blind spots and no one's allowed to say it because they're afraid you'll get angry and then we miss out. So I want to wrap up with some Q&A, just general Q&A, not specifically about that topic. But the first question is, how do I find the balance between ambition and contentment in life? And that's a really good question because, on the one hand, if you say, well, godliness with contentment is great gain. If we think contentment means no goals, and no, I'm just satisfied where I'm at and I don't want to grow and I don't want more, and that's godly, I don't believe that that's the godly type of commitment, because God is a multiplier. He's a God of abundance. He's always wanting us to prosper and grow and increase. So I believe contentment is more about satisfaction and enjoying the moment. So I think the goal is, the way we balance ambition and contentment is saying, I want to grow, but I enjoy right now, but I also enjoy tomorrow. I enjoy my goals. I want to invest in the future, but I also am going to enjoy right now. See, if we only focus on the future, then we'll have ambition, but we won't enjoy anything in the present, so we're missing out, and it'll be a hollow vision, right? If all your goals, the minute you get there, you already have a different one, so you never actually enjoy it, you're missing out. I think it's contentment of, I love the moment. I'm living in the moment. I love the people right in front of me. I'm not just focused on people who aren't here, I'm focused on people who are here. I'm going to enjoy the moment. I'm going to enjoy relationships. I'm going to enjoy right here, right now, for all it's worth. But at the same time, right here, right now, I'm making decisions that will make tomorrow even better and the next day even better. So I do believe in godly ambition for growth, not ambition just of like material gain, or not even material gain, because that can be a fruit of godly growth. I'd say selfish gain or carnal gain or things like that, where it's not just about ambition of I want to be better than you or stuff like that. It's no, I want to grow. I want to grow. I want everything God has for me. That's a godly form of ambition. So next question, how do I avoid distractions and stay focused on what matters most? Again, just as we were talking about priorities here, how do I avoid distractions? One of the ways, and I'll talk about this more in the future, but look at the fruit. Because one of the biggest thing with distractions is when you don't realize that they're distractions. So when you notice you're investing time in something, ask yourself, what's the fruit of this? Is this helping me become who I want to be or not? And so then the first key is to recognize that a distraction is a distraction and not just another worthwhile investment. And so, if we realize it's a distraction, we say, oh, well, what would I rather be focused on? How can I invest in things that are important? So I hope this is helpful. And as we wrap up, I want to encourage you to go to gooddaygtn.com to check that out. If you're watching this close to when we air it, the giveaway right now is How to Become a Water Walker by Andrew Wommack. If you watch it in the future, it might be something else. Have an amazing day, and we will see you next time. Bye.